Hi there, my name's Joe and I drive late models. 2017 has been a pretty crazy year for iRacing. We got tons of new content and there have been some crazy changes to the way everything works. We got Time Attack, we've got the desktop launcher, we got dirt content, and now we've got even more dirt content, and 2 new license systems. Things have gone under a pretty radical change, especially with this most recent update. So I'm here today to talk about what is going on with iRacing and really give you my opinion on all this new stuff that we got. Alright, so the biggest change coming this season to iRacing is the new licenses. Now they've taken the original 2 licenses, the oval and the road course license, and they've divided those in half, adding a dirt oval and a dirt road course license. And they kind of had taken everybody's information from the dirt oval events, and they actually had a release a couple months ago saying that you needed to compete in a certain number of races to have your license transfer from the normal pavement oval to your new dirt oval license, but you didn't get the I rating that you had before. So that's been a huge change, at least on the oval side of things, and now with the dirt road course being a completely new license with a completely new car, everybody is on the same, pretty much, playing field. The other big change, and one of the biggest changes to iRacing so far, is the race format. The team at iRacing has taken the classic race format of having a heat race and a consolation race along with a feature. It used to be that you would just go into a race, qualify, and whatever position you qualified in is where you started the race. Now, you have to qualify, and then you're placed into one of 2 heats, as far as we know right now, maybe more in the future. And, you know, the first person to qualify is first in Heat 1, the second person to qualify is first in Heat 2, so on and so forth. And they line you up like that, and then only a certain number of cars qualify automatically for the feature. The rest have to go to a consolation race, which decides the final spots in the feature on the grid. So, it's really just a classic method of doing races and keeping things exciting, and I love it. Races are a little bit longer, but basically, you know, you've got a 10-lap race and it's stretched out to, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, because you've got to go through the heats of the consolation races, but I think it's a whole lot more fun. And screwing up one time in the heat race isn't going to end your night because you'll get in through the consolation. And it gives you a whole lot more chances, and it makes the racing a lot more fun. People can kind of afford to be maybe a little bit more reckless or, you know, make moves that they wouldn't make in a normal road race. So that is one change that I really, really love. And like I said, it adds a whole new level for hosted races too. Currently, they are piloting this system with the dirt midget cars and the GRC cars. And I have to tell you, every race that I've done has just been pretty awesome. So those are the 2 major format changes to iRacing, the new licenses and the new race formats. Now we'll move on to the new content, which I am just loving all this new stuff that we got, especially the GRC cars, and we'll get to that in just a minute. First up for the new content this season is Knoxville, and this is a dirt oval that is pretty much the home of sprint car racing, if you ask anybody. The Knoxville Nationals are one of the most coveted events in dirt racing all across the United States. People from all over travel to Knoxville for the Knoxville Nationals, and it is one of the few crown jewels of the dirt sprint car circuit. Knoxville is a very wide, flat track, and from what I've seen, it gets very racy. Now, the track looks really great, and I really like the inside berm that they put on it. It kind of reminds me a bit of Susquehanna Speedway, which is now BAPS Motor Speedway from Pennsylvania. A lot of big things happening there, and that's one of the tracks that I run at. But anyway, it has this berm on the inside that's kind of like a big dirt mound that runs across the inside, and in a late model you can park that left front up on that berm and kind of ride it all the way around the track. But on the sprint cars it kind of gets a little bit rough down there. You don't want to do that. But anywho, the sprint cars, they kind of are very racy here that I've seen. You can run the outside or the inside and be fast either way. So it's a pretty good track, and I'm sure there are going to be plenty of sprint car events there. So should you buy it? If you're going to be running sprint cars, absolutely. And we'll see how it is with the late models. I'm waiting for an official series to go there to test it out myself. For the next 2 pieces of content, I'm going to hop in iRacing, and we're just going to take some laps and talk about the new GRC cars and the Midgets. So stay tuned. Next up, we're going to talk about these GRC cars, and this is Global Rallycross. This is something completely new to iRacing. We have never had a dirt road course, and we've never had these cars in the game before. So this is all new ground for iRacing to be traveling in. So, with iRacing, you get the Volkswagen Beetle, which is a Global Rallycross car. You also get 2007 Daytona and old Phoenix, I forget what year, 2008 Phoenix or something like that. And those both contain free Rallycross tracks. So, with buying iRacing, even if you have the most basic of content, you can try this stuff out. These cars handle very different from anything I've ever driven, and I have extremely limited road experience, so don't mind me, but I can't really equate these cars to anything on the road side. They're light, they're agile, and once you get on dirt, it's extremely slick. The car gets very loose, and it creates some very interesting racing. You pretty much start in like a land rush style, where all the cars are on a grid and they all start, 3 wide, 4 wide, and they all enter in the first corner at the same time. And it gets very hairy, and I don't think I've been in a race where there hasn't been a crash on turn 1. This is heightened by the fact that these cars are so new, but let me just tell you that they are a blast to drive, regardless of the wrecks. It's going to be hard for me to race anything other than these cars for a while, because they're just so much fun. The racing is close, and it takes a lot of skill to figure out, where you're going to go on the track. The tracks are short, so you get a lot of laps to perfect where you're going to run, and you've got a lot of opportunities to make passes and kind of push the issue with the heat races and the consolation races. So all in all, these cars are probably one of my favorite cars on iRacing. And I know that's pretty heinous of me to say as a dirt oval major, but I'll be honest with you, I absolutely love these cars, and I can't get enough of them. Alright, so the Midget car. This car is pretty insane. The first time I got in this car, the power to weight ratio absolutely had me floored. These cars can lift up the front wheels no matter how fast you are going, and they are just fast and a little bit crazy. So the Midget is based on the wingless sprint car. It kind of drives similar to one, except everything that the wingless sprint car does, these cars do a little bit more intensely. So the wingless sprint car will lift the front tires, and you can really do a backflip if you wanted to, while these cars, you can do it way more. Look at this. Look at this insanity. The first time I got in the car, and I hit practice, I tried to take off from the pits, and I stepped on it, and lifted the front wheels and just flipped over. It was insane. These things have a crazy power-to-weight ratio. So anywho, they drive a lot like the wingless sprint car, just a little bit more intense, and I don't want to say they're harder to drive, they're just a little bit different. You have to be a lot more aware of how high the front wheels are lifting off the ground. So that's one thing about them. These cars are a whole lot of fun, and I think they're worth the buy if you're interested in dirt content, or if you have maybe you don't want to purchase the wingless sprint car, but you want to have a car that kind of handles like it. And you know, when the Chili Bowl comes out, which we know that has to be the next step since it's the Daytona 500 of dirt racing, when the Chili Bowl comes out, we are definitely going to need to see how these cars are on there, because I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Just a small track with these super overpowered cars on it. Also, story time really quick. Many people have commented on the fact that I'm driving with one hand. In fact, one of my favorite comments was somebody said, if you want to get faster, drive with two hands. And it's driving with one hand kind of comes out of the force of habit. Back in the day when I used to drive micro sprint cars, which are a lot like these midget cars, except they have they're about the same size, but they have two-stroke engines, two-stroke motorcycle engines in them. And on those cars, you have to be, you know, shifting twice a lap. You shift going into the corner, 4 times a lap. You shift going into the corner, coming out of the corner, and then, you know, you have to do that twice a lap. So a total of 4 shifts a lap. My right hand was constantly on the shifter, shifting back and forth between the gears, while my left hand became very dominant with driving. And that's kind of where I've got this habit of driving with one hand from. However, I feel like on dirt, it's kind of a hassle to drive with 2 hands, because then I'm, you know, really throwing both arms around when I can just, you know, just as easily get the wheel back and forth with the left hand and reach in with the right hand if ever I need to stretch a little bit farther, you know, like. But anyway, that's just kind of how it goes. Now in a real car, it becomes a little different. The G-forces kind of, you know, throw the right hand off to the side a little bit more. So it kind of encourages me to drive with one hand as well. And you also see a lot of dirt drivers doing that, so I'm not alone, and I'm not crazy. My final verdict on these cars, if you're deciding whether or not you want to buy a wingless sprint car or one of these cars, I definitely consider these cars, since they're probably going to have some pretty big events, with possibly the Chili Bowl coming out or whatever might be next. And, you know, if you already have the wingless sprint car, these things kind of drive the same way, maybe just a little bit more extreme, and a lot more challenging, I think, at least to get the balance right with your right foot. So, worth the buy if you're looking to, you know, if you like the wingless sprint car, or if you're trying to make the choice, I'd probably go with the Midget over the wingless sprint car. Though the wingless sprint car does come with 2 different cars. So that's another thing to consider. But I definitely enjoy this series, and I'm going to be racing a whole lot more of it in the future. Alright, that's about it for all of the new content and new big changes to iRacing for this season. Now, we did get pit crews on the NASCAR side of things through all the series, which is a huge step in the right direction for iRacing. People have been wanting that for years. So, that's about it for all this stuff, and actually some of the cars got a lot of like little tweaks and changes, and I know NASCAR got the 2018 package on the Class A car, but anyway, that could be a whole different video. Thank you guys for watching this one. I appreciate you. If you hadn't hit that like button or the subscribe button, please do so. It encourages me to make more videos, and really, I am amazed at the success we've had so far, and hoping to continue and kind of build on that throughout the off-season and into next racing season. So, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.